Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, how you doing? Welcome to, this is now episode 20 of the Coders Startup Podcast. I almost said the How to Program with Java podcast. I just recorded an episode of that a few hours ago. So welcome to the Coders Startup. I, as always, am Trevor Page, and I'm joined by the right-hand man, Carter Johnson. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Good to be here.
Good stuff. So we're using a new piece of software here. For those of you watching us, we're using a new piece of software to record. Let's see how it goes, and we'll take it from there. So today we are going to be talking a little bit more about our numbers. Our numbers are something that I was just actually talking with one of my friends. You remember Clay Green from the foundation?
Oh yeah.
So Clay is a mutual friend of ours, and I was just talking to him this morning, and I was talking to him about how once I realized what my numbers were and how they worked in my business, then I could make all these steps going forward and make real progress. And Clay said, "You know what that's called?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "That's called going pro." And I was like, "That's good." So he said, "Trevor, when you did that, you went pro." And he admitted that he was still in the amateur phase, so he needed to get to down to his numbers and get them under his belt and understand them. So that's why I figured, hey, we should talk about the numbers today and why they're so important in your business, because I can really attribute the success that I'm having now to the key moment of knowing and understanding the numbers in my business. So
absolutely.
I think I'll start off with my story about... that's a great lead in. Yeah, exactly.
Tell everyone listening and watching why this is such a powerful
thing.
Step in business, yeah.
And it's funny because it's not something I realized was so powerful. But anyway, here's the story. I love story time with Trevor Page. So way back when in my business, with one of my pages, this is where I was trying to sell a product. It's a digital product. It's a series of videos that teaches people how to program. And, I was having decent sales, okay sales, but, it was still sort of living paycheck to paycheck type of thing. And I didn't have a large cushion to really reinvest back into my business. But I realized, I was like, well, given all the traffic that I'm getting to my blog, which at the time was like 35,000 a month, which is a lot. I was like, should I be doing better? Like, I didn't know the answer to that question. Should I be doing better? Or is this just, the niche that I'm in is just, you need more than 30,000 people coming in every month to make a decent profit. So, but then I realized, well, I don't really know my numbers in terms of my conversion rates and all that stuff. I forget how the topic came up. But I started looking at my numbers, and I think I was on the phone with my dad, and he was asking me about my numbers. So I said, "All right, hold on, Dad. Let me spend 30 minutes and go over them." So what I did was I looked at my traffic. I went to Google Analytics. I went to the specific sales page that I had, which was the sales page where I'm trying to sell my video tutorials course, and I looked at the numbers in terms of my overall traffic. So that page, that's not my blog. That was my sales page. So it had much, much lower traffic numbers, probably, on the order of 1,000 people a month coming through it. So I looked at 1,000 people and I said, okay, how many of those people purchased last month? So I went into my, sales program that I use. I think it's sendowl.com. They have great reports. Actually, if you want to use our affiliate link for that, you can go to coderstartup.com/sendowl if you want to, give us some kickback. Anyway, you went to Sendowl, checked the reports, looked at the number of sales, and also went into my email program, which is I think at the time MailChimp, and I went in and checked the number of signups for the month that came in through that list. Anyway, I got the numbers. I compared them all to the base traffic over the course of a few months, just to get a sort of a pulse on my business of late type of thing, and the numbers were terrible. And it was a very eye-opening experience because I think my conversion rate from a visitor to an email lead was something on the order of like 1 or 2%, which is just not good. In contrast, now I'm getting something more like 20, 25%. That's a good, healthy average.
That's an insane number.
I've heard it's average.
Very good. Really?
Yeah. I think anything over 20 is good, but 20 is about average. So I was getting like 2. So that's clearly, I knew right away I had the answer. Oh my God. Right. Rather, I had the right data to say, no, I'm not doing well. This is not good. And then I looked at the conversion rate to sales, And that was even obviously more ridiculous. So that was 0.25%. So 0.25% of the people who land on that page would purchase my product. And I mean, a lot of these people were coming from my blog. So they were already sort of what we would call warm leads. Mm-hmm. So they were already sort of indoctrinated into my brand, and still 0.25% converted. So then I had my answer in front of me. I knew now that my numbers were not good, and I needed to say to myself, okay, how can I improve this situation? So the first thing I did was I looked at my page and I said, okay, I'm trying to do two things here. I'm trying to get them to either sign up for my email list or buy my product outright. And when you do something like that, when you try to do two things at once, or rather too many things at once, it just does not work as well. So I needed to say to myself and to my business, what is the purpose of this particular web page? What is the one goal of this web page? And when I looked at what I talked about last week, which was my autoresponder and sort of the funnel that I've set up with respect to the lead magnet, to the tripwire, to the core product sale, to the upsell, I realized that this page represented the step one in my funnel, which is lead generation. So the purpose of this web page was not to sell, but just to get the email address. And that was the beginning of the saga that's turned into how my business is going now. So we'll get into that a little bit later.
And let me interrupt real quick, because I remember you made that realization when we were talking about it. I don't know if it was within our mastermind or just you and I one-on-one. And you made that realization. I think it was shortly after that you set up the fan gate, and immediately you started seeing night and day results.
Yeah, so like I think the number was, previously with my old design, I got about maybe 10 people signing up to my email list every week. So around maybe, 1.1 a day, 1.2 a day, people would sign up. Immediately after I redesigned that page, nothing else changed. The traffic didn't change. I wasn't promoting it more. Nothing changed. Just the design of the web page to focus in on one thing and one thing only, which is to capture the lead. I did the redesign of the web page. I use lead pages to do it. You can check it out via obviously coderstartup.com/lead pages. Amazing product. I talked about it before. If I was only allowed to buy one product, it would be lead pages to use my business.
That's a testimony right there.
Absolutely. I love lead, because I'm not a designer. If you're a designer, then maybe you can spend your money elsewhere, but I'm not a designer. It saves me so much time. Mm-hmm. I chose one of the highest converting lead pages inside of that platform. Just put in some sales copy saying, hey, sign up for my free email course. I created a free email course for Java tutorials, and click the button to sign up now. Overnight, I went from essentially 10 a week to, I think it was about 30 a day. Yeah. So whatever that is, 30 times 7, 210 a week? Is that my math correct there?
You're on.
Yeah. Yep. So from 10 a week to 210 a week in like 30 minutes. It was just incredible.
It stayed at that level.
And it stayed at that level.
Yeah, because I remember for a while you were like, I'm just waiting for it to. It has to come back to earth.
That's right.
But it stayed at that level, which is
incredible.
Yeah.
So good. That's a good little nugget that you could pull out of me. So now let's keep moving it forward. Let's move on to what you wanted to talk about next, which is I think your KPIs and stuff like that.
Yeah. So so kind of, I guess, using what you were saying as more of a intro into the next portion of it. Mm-hmm. Once you figure out those numbers, then it's basic elementary math. You're able to kind of figure out, okay, if I can drive traffic at this cost, and on the other side, I can sell things and make this amount of money, you literally are playing with X and Y, and just, really creating that whole model of how much it's going to cost you to actually grow your business. And that's essentially what you did a lot of after you, really got that conversion number up, right, Trevor?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Yeah. And so one of the big things that you hear a lot of the great companies doing is consistently monitoring their KPIs, their key performance indicators. And there's no set guidelines on what makes a KPI a KPI. Everyone sets it up differently. Mind Valley, a great company that has tons of products, they had a really good webinar once that spoke about how they go about KPIs. And they literally, every single team has a set of KPIs that they're monitoring, that they're plugging in every single week. And it allows management and ownership to take a look at that whole document and in 15 minutes figure out what is improving, what is declining, what needs attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're looking at KPIs for your business, you want to kind of think in the terms of what is driving your business. So for Trevor, that was like early on, that was your email list, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was
Absolutely.
clearly how many signups. So something that you want to probably reflect on is week in, week out, what your email list is growing at, what rate it's at. That would be a good KPI for you to start with. If traffic is something that's growing your business, you want to monitor traffic. But eventually, start slowly introducing these KPIs once you kind of figure out your main focus like Trevor did. And once you've had, once you get one KPI set up and you get used to tracking that, incorporate another one, and then just keep incorporating more. And eventually you're going to have this whole snapshot of your entire business and the levers that you can pull and push to really make things go. And that's when it gets super, super exciting.
Now, before you go on, only because I'm a bit of a nitpicky type person, Carter's working out of a different location today. And for those of you who can't see this, doesn't really matter, except for the fact that he's got a fur coat on or something and it's rubbing up against the microphone. If you could just disrobe from your outer layer so that the microphone doesn't rub, that'd be awesome. Anyway,
I tell you what, I'll fix my mic like this. How's this?
That's great.
All right.
So yeah, that's absolutely, when it comes to KPIs, emails coming in the door are exactly what I'm measuring intensely, because if the smaller the amount of emails coming in, the less money I'm making out the other end of my email funnel. The more people I put in, the more money comes out the other end. It is as simple as that. And that was evident from one test that I did where I drove more email signups for sort of a short period of time. I had emailed my list of 5,000 on the side and said, hey guys, check out this free email course. Mm-hmm. So I sort of transferred some of the 5,000 I had in the bank over to this new email list, this new email course that I was running. And over the course of about a week, I was getting a big spike in signups every day. And then all of a sudden, about a month later, I was getting sales like crazy every day. I was getting 3 or 4 sales, and I was like, what is happening? And then I realized it was the people from that spike in signups for that week. That's what happened. So it was just a number. It's just game. It's a game of numbers. There we go. Not Game of Thrones. But the more people you have signing in, the more money I'm making out the other end. Period.
And, I mean, to really boil that down and simplify it, even another step, what you can do, you start hearing about all these people who they start monitoring how much traffic they get to the landing page, then what the conversion rate is to their opt-in, then what their open rate is, then what their conversion rate is on that. I mean, that's good data because you can see every single segment, like what's going on. But eventually what you can get to, and what Trevor has right now, is knowing the pure value of one email opt-in. So he can look at that number and basically say, okay, if every email address is worth $3 or $5 or whatever, then he knows as long as he acquires email addresses below that, he's making profit. And that's why your numbers are just so valuable.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped after I had some data. So I didn't know my number for that, because you can't know the number until you've tested things out at least once. Mm-hmm. So as people were sort of organically going through my email funnel, I could keep track of how many people had gone through the entire process. And then I knew how many sales I made from those people. So just a matter of knowing, okay, if I want to know dollars per person, dollars per email address, that's the $dollars per person. How much money did I make? That's the dollars. how many people went through the list. That's the people. You divide those two numbers and you have your dollar per person. So when I first started, it was somewhere around, I think it was $5 per person. But I had actually made a mistake in my scarcity part of the formula. The scarcity wasn't working properly. So in other words, I was sending an email out to people saying, hey, you've got 24 hours left. But when they clicked on the link, it said 0. They purchased because they were like, oh, I must have missed it. Oh, well, I guess I missed that. I'll move on with my life. Once I fixed that, the value of the customer went from $5 to like $10. And it might even be more at this point. I'm still obviously, my numbers are fluctuating, but I know at a minimum right now, each email address is worth $10 to me. So I can spend up to $10 in advertising to acquire an email, and I will come out the other end of it profitable, which is incredible because right now I'm able to acquire leads. I think it was 95 cents the last time I looked at it. It was this morning. It was 95 cents per email address, which is extremely low. I don't know how lucky I am in getting that. I don't know what I did specifically, but if you can acquire it for even getting an email address for less than $3, that's great. But it does obviously, it doesn't matter specifically what that number is. If you're selling something where you can make a sale that's much larger and the average value of the email lead is maybe it's worth $50 to you. Like in Carter's business, an email lead is worth far more to him than it is for me. So it depends on your business, obviously, but just a little tidbit from me.
I tell you what, 5th grade math would have been so much more fun if they described it to us this way. I would have paid a lot more attention back in elementary and middle school.
And I was just saying today in my other podcast how useless things like trigonometry and calculus has been to me, and what a failure that is in the school system. So yeah, they should be teaching this kind of stuff. This is fun math.
This is the fun math for sure. Well, we talked before the show, and I was telling you about 2 resources that I'm not sure you were even familiar with.
No, yeah. Tell me about them.
Yeah, let's jump into it. So if you are a really visual person and you want to go nuts with this, and you really just want to track everything from if you're doing PPC to, your conversions, to your retention rate, to your churn, all sorts of just metrics within your business, there's a lot of really cool options out there that essentially will give you a dashboard that, again, all this is going to be there at a glance. And most of the people listening are coders and stuff, so they won't have the headaches that I've had trying to hook this stuff up. So definitely look into these things and take advantage. The first one is Duckboard, and it's, Trevor, if you want to pull it up right now just to take a glance while we're talking.
I just want to make sure I've got the spelling right. Okay, Duckboard, exactly how you think it should be spelled.
Yep.
Cool.
Very cool. Integrates into a lot of, just the automated type things that are out there. So everything from, Google Analytics to your shopping carts, all of that stuff. The other one is Domo. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's Domo. But it's more built, I'd say, for brick and mortar type businesses and even more like enterprise type businesses, but it still can be utilized in the online space and for specifically, the 1-man or 1 to 10 person type teams. If anything, just take a look and see, if it's something that you're interested in terms of visual metrics, it's a cool stuff. And
when I'm furiously looking through these things as Carter's bringing them up, my very first impressions, this is an interesting thing to note. My very first impression is that the first one you mentioned, Duckboard, is exactly what I would be interested in. And when I went to Domo.com, it doesn't strike me as, like you said, it looks like it's built more for large businesses. I see no pricing tab. I can't see what it costs. I need to request a demo by putting in my email contact information, stuff like that. It's definitely for bigger businesses. Yeah. Whereas Duckboard is like, I can see it's $20 a month or $19 a month for, for one dashboard and 1 month of data retention plus unlimited sharing. So $20 a month for me, it might be something that definitely would be of interest to me. So that's definitely cool. I'm going to check them out because I'm very visual. So anyway. Awesome.
So yeah, those are great resources. We were talking also before the show. We were talking about, or I was telling Trevor about a story that I read because we were trading stories, and we were talking about just the power of knowing your numbers and all. And if you haven't gotten a chance, read the book about Amazon, The Everything Store. Talks a lot about Jeff Bezos and just, you know, his journey in setting that up and how competitive they are. And Bezos actually, he knows his numbers so well, he will build a competitive moat around an industry that they're entering in by using a lead loss type of system to acquire customers. So for example, the Kindle Fire, when that came out, or not the Kindle Fire, I think it was just the basic Kindle, they were losing something like $98 every single purchase. So imagine in your business, you were putting something on the market, you know you were going to lose money on it. But they knew on the back end where they were going to make the money was through, you know, the book downloads, the movie downloads, and just acquiring that market share. And of course, you're probably thinking, well, Amazon's a giant, you know, they have all this stuff that I don't, blah, blah, blah. But the point of the matter is, you know, you can still think that way. You can still think of how you can basically, if you know, like Trevor knows, the value of an email, it's okay then to lose $5 giving something away on the front end if you're going to make $10 on the actual lead. So I thought that was a pretty cool story because we were talking about these numbers, and that immediately popped in my head.
Yeah, and I know I brought up the fact that the video game industry does the same thing. So when it comes to the PlayStation and Nintendo and Microsoft, when they sell their consoles, at least this is what I heard previously, for their last generation of consoles, they would lose money hand over fist with each sale of the console. But like Carter was talking about with Amazon, the video game companies are going to get the money back in the sales of the video games and the add-ons on the video games and the downloadable content and this and that and the other thing. But for me, if like he was saying, if I can spend more than $10 to acquire a customer, so long as I'm able to sell them more once they are my customer. And that sort of brings up a topic of the lifetime value of the customer. And this is another number that I don't know yet. But this is something that I need to figure out because, again, it's another number, and it's definitely something that will benefit my business if I know it. The lifetime value of your customer is exactly what it sounds like. It's how much money, on average, can you gain from a single customer over the course of the lifetime that they are going to be sort of around your business. And
it's super easy to calculate, too.
Okay,
and it's going to change, right? Because, you know, as someone who's continuously creating new products and everything else, you're having more things to sell. So right now, you can simply calculate it by looking at your total individual sales, individual customers.
So let's say, for the year, for the lifetime of my business,
I would do it the lifetime of your business. And you can break this down. You can you know, tailor it to whatever you'd like to do. But let's take, or if you want to make it simpler for this, you know.
Sure. Well, let's stick to just the product that I'm selling right now in my email funnel, because that's what I'm focusing on right now. So I look at those total sales.
Yeah. So we'll say that is an individual business. You take the total monetary value of all those sales, and you take your total customers, individual customers, and you actually divide it. You know, you just divide the total sales by the individual customers, and that's going to give you a number that you can pretty much start playing with to figure out how to raise that.
So then, yeah, if I have 100 customers and I've sold $1,000 worth of products, then my lifetime value of a customer is $10, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And as I add more products to that formula and sell them, it's the same thing. Now the only thing is you need to be able to equate 2 sales across 2 different products to one person.
Yeah, but that's where you're going to do the actual individual customer versus individual sales. You want to make sure you do customers versus sales.
Right. So for me, it would be a little bit more difficult, but I would have to somehow get a cross-reference of, you know, somehow tracking them via their email address, I guess.
Yeah.
I have to look at their email address in my reports, because in SendOwl, I can export my sales to an Excel spreadsheet, and I can probably group them by email address, and then there you go. Now I can properly capture number of customers versus total dollar sale.
You could do a real quick filter out any duplicates and just basically then take the total number that is left, and you'd be able to find it.
Okay, cool. And then so that's it. That's the lifetime value. I can go and find that out right now if I wanted to. So that would be easy for me to do. I would do exactly what I just said. Go to Sendal, export the sales of the lifetime that I've been selling these things, and then group them by their email address. So that's fantastic. I love it. Then with that number. So what? Other than that, like, what is the big benefit of understanding the lifetime value? Does that come back to how much you can spend to acquire them as a customer? Absolutely, because then if you know in the long run, that you're making maybe, and we're using your business as an example, but let's say that you're a gardening shop, and you know that every time you get one customer, as long as you start that one transaction, it's going to lead to $60 spend over the lifetime of it, even though it might be only $5 the first time. So you can essentially, if you have the cash flow and the means to do this, you can actually spend more money acquiring that first transaction just to get them in the pipeline of being your customer. Okay. So yeah, it's like for you, it's going to be extremely valuable because I would also track this over the lifetime of your business. You know what I mean? Because you're going to be able to look at things and see like, hey, a year ago, our lifetime value was $10 now, or maybe it's more than that per customer, but whatever it is. And then, next year, maybe it's 25% more. Yeah. And that's going to get really cool. That is going to get cool. And so for Sendal, I know I keep going back to Sendal, but it's just, I got really excited because a few days ago, they introduced a new feature specifically for upsells. And that's, I haven't been firing, like I said in the last episode, I haven't been firing on that cylinder yet. I haven't offered the upsell just because I'm a bit confused as to what I should do for the upsell and when to pitch it to them, et cetera, et cetera. But now Sendal has it built into their payment platform. So as soon as they buy my core product, it can say, oh, hold on a second, or what have you, and it'll say, do you also want to purchase this add-on product? And it's a nice graphic visual with some explanation and blah, blah, blah. So it's automatically built into the payment platform where I can just, boom, right off the bat, increase the value of that customer. So I saw that come out. I did the fist pump in the air, and I said, okay, I got to get on this. I got to figure out what I can do as an add-on product that would make sense when they become a customer right away, when they purchase the core product, that I could pitch to them as an upsell. Because I'm just leaving money on the table right now. There's so much more money I could be making, and I'm very, very excited for that. So the most expensive numbers, none of this would have happened to me. I'm on target, I think, for next month to make 5 figures. This is the first time I'll make 5 figures in a month. That is just way more money than I ever made. Completely passive. In completely sit on my butt, play video games, passive income. I always use that as an example because that tends to be when the sales come in, either when I'm playing video games or when I'm watching television in the evening with my significant other. So I had a good high five with her yesterday while we were eating because I'd made a big sale, and I was like, yeah, I'm watching Grey's Anatomy, I'm making money. I love it. I love it. So it's a very exciting time in my business because it's finally, working, and I'm seeing, all the hard work that I put in for the past 3 years are finally paying off. And really, it all comes down to the fact that, I just needed to really understand my numbers, and that's what launched this entire thing. That's so awesome. So good. So important. Hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of this. And as always, I was, love to be joined by Mr. Carter Johnson. I would urge you to check out, Mr. Carter Johnson's website. Is it mcarterjohnson.com? It is. It is. Because in a future episode, I want to talk about a little case study that Carter and I are doing with my own business with respect to the SEO work that we have going on. I have to say I'm very impressed with the stuff that Carter has laid out. And I'm very excited because there's potentially, I'm just going to throw this out there because it's just a fun number to play with. But potentially, this is probably not realistic, but there's a potential for me to bump my revenue up by about $500,000 per year if I were to implement some of the SEO changes that are on the horizon here that he sort of pointed out. Because apparently my business is ripe for the improvement with respect to SEO. So
yeah, we're doing some cool stuff. We're kind of combining the world of finance, mergers, acquisitions, and organic traffic, if you will. So having a lot of fun.
So I was so excited after having this conversation with him. So I'm very excited to see where that takes us. And for sure, I'll be reporting back probably with Carter once we get more results down the road. That'll probably be many months from now.
Yeah, it'll take some time for sure.
Take some time, but I'm very, very excited nonetheless because that's the step in the right direction. So thank you everyone as always for joining us today in this episode of the Coder Startup. I believe it was number 20. So that means you can check out the show notes via coderstartup.com/20. And Carter, do you have any parting words before we close this sucker off?
I don't. Have a good week, and we'll catch you next time.
Sounds good. Remember, take action, ladies and gentlemen. That's the most important thing that you can do right now, today, to take the next step towards building your business and making it a profit machine. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care of yourselves, and bye for now.